thinking from the customer first angle and at the same time leveraging the ecosystem to go forward through a platform strategy has really helped us propel our scale.
So the future of the cloud to me is every business process is going to be cloud enabled.
You kind of have to try them all out and see what matters to your customers and find out where your customers are within that. And then whatever is working, that traction pull will then be the place where you double down.
The cloud is great. It solves a lot of real-world problems, but it's not just one cloud anymore. Public clouds, private clouds, edge clouds. The average business uses 5 different cloud providers. It's become chaotic and complex, with unpredictable costs, inconsistent security, multiple management tools, and different formats for workloads that span cloud platforms and providers. But it doesn't have to be that way. The Dell Technologies Cloud, powered by VMware, can be the one constant across your clouds. It brings consistent infrastructure and operations to your multi-cloud environment, so you can choose the right cloud for each application. A public cloud that lets you easily tap into services, a private cloud that's fully under your control, or the edge with cloud as a service. With a true hybrid cloud experience, your business becomes more agile with simple workload migration and easy onboarding for new assets. Your teams get to market faster with simplified operations and automated processes. You reduce risk and strengthen your security profile. And with Dell Technologies Cloud, you have flexible consumption options, reducing your total cost of ownership. Like it or not, the business world often requires many clouds. Now, that's easier than ever, with consistent infrastructure, operations, and services across all your clouds. You get the cloud without the chaos. The Dell Technologies Cloud.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of our attendees. My name is Sandhya Gorman, and I am excited to be hosting the Business of Cloud panel today. I currently am the Senior Director of Partnerships at a cloud-forward Kubernetes security company called StackRox, and also the founder of an organization, an industry think tank and consulting company called the Multi-Cloud Leadership Alliance. I'm excited to be here. I have some esteemed colleagues with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about the business side of the cloud. So go beyond the technology, talk about how the technology integration actually help third-party vendors such as ISVs, including startups, drive revenue, drive joint go-to-market, demand gen, and grow and scale their business through the cloud providers. So let's get started. I see Stephen Mee is on, and Stephen, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go down and get introductions from the other panelists.
Great, thanks, Sandhya, and great to be here for TiCon. My name's Stephen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a data analytics startup called Ahana, and prior I was in a couple other startups. I led Aviatrix, which was a cloud-native networking startup. We were a big partner with the public cloud providers. Great to meet you all.
Great. Preeti.
Sandhya, thank you so much. Hi, viewers. Really excited to have you all here. This is Preeti Padman. I'm the head of platform product marketing at Freshworks, and I look forward to share my insights with you.
All right. Excellent. Uday.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Uday Keshavdas, and I'm with Snowflake. And I'm part of the Global Alliances team, and I've been building the ecosystem from day one since early 2016, and happy to be here.
Great.
As the world reopens, ServiceNow is helping customers make sure going back to the workplace works for everyone. Introducing the Safe Workplace apps and dashboard 4 apps specifically designed to help ensure the health and safety of your workforce and workplace, all housed in a single dashboard to give you a comprehensive look into everything you need to know. And they're available now, out of the box, powered by the Now platform. Get a bird's eye view to make sure your employees are prepared and ready to go back to the workplace. Manage inventory levels across your organisation thanks to workflows that automatically replenish supplies. Screen and verify the health of your employees and help manage workflows for cleaning, sanitation and safe distancing for employees. 4 essential apps, 1 comprehensive dashboard. Together we can make sure going back to the workplace can work for everyone. That's the power of the Now platform.
And we'll go to the other panelists first. So each of you, Uday, Stephen, and Preeti, have a unique presence with, one or more cloud providers. Could you please share with us part of your journey? How did you? What are you doing today with the cloud providers? What are some things that you can tell us about, your decision to get on the cloud and drive business? So just a quick overview of where you are and how you're helping generate revenue and driving demand with the cloud providers. We'll go ahead and start with you, Preeti, because I think you have a unique business model with Freshworks.
Thank you, Sandhya. Yes, so we work with multiple cloud companies. To start with, we have partnered with AWS right from the start, and we host our SaaS platform on AWS. And we also deeply integrated on our technical side. We integrate with some of their services like Lambda to provide serverless architecture. We also integrate with SageMaker for our AI platform. So across the board, we've integrated with AWS. We also partnering with Microsoft on the Teams side and also with Google going forward.
Great, thank you. Stephen, you and I had a chance to work together a few years ago when you were at Aviatrix, and it was an interesting ride. So what are you doing today at Ahana and with the cloud providers?
Yeah, so we are focused on working with the major cloud providers, and we have an open source software that we work with called Presto. And so we provided AMIs on the marketplace, and we're a APN member. And we really look to drive with product market fit comes the go-to-market side. And we really think that a cloud go-to-market is a very interesting business model and a faster model that has swept a lot of the B2B IT products that are out there. So we'd love to talk about Aviatrix after that. Yep.
Awesome. So you mentioned APN, which is Amazon Partner Network. You mentioned Marketplace, which is, I think, the Amazon Marketplace. But we know that Google Cloud also has its own marketplace, as does the Microsoft Azure platform, as does Red Hat and IBM. So we're seeing a proliferation of marketplaces. And Uday, representing Snowflake, I think you guys have really cracked the nut in being multi-cloud. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the cloud providers and how that journey started for Snowflake.
Yeah, I think if you look back at the history of Snowflake, Snowflake was really founded and formed with how do you develop a platform that really takes advantage of the cloud. So we are cloud native, built for the cloud, and that's how Snowflake actually got started. And this is back in 2012. Snowflake was built using AWS at that time. And as we started gaining a lot of customer traction, it was really our customers that demanded, saying, "Hey, we love your product, but we want to have the same experience on Google as well as Microsoft Azure." So for us, it was develop the platform first. We were still an emerging startup. It was mature, and then as we saw customers going towards different regions and different clouds. It really is, using the cloud as the underlying infrastructure to really go deliver a best of breed analytics platform.
Okay, great. So let's go back to Avanish. Let's see if your audio is working. Love to hear a little bit more about how startups and third-party vendors can interact with the Google Cloud platform your team that manages or drives ISV and app partnerships?
So first and foremost is product market fit, right? So is the partner and fits well into the marketplace, right? So that's a core element. But the ones that truly succeed are the ones that the partners that understand how to drive customer outcomes, customer value, right? If it's not a no product, it is really about delivering value and delivering business value to the customer. So the partner is trying to understand what's a problem they're solving, is it application, infrastructure, etc. Where do they fit into the stack? And then how are they driving business value? So that is fundamental for partners to succeed. The third one, which I think is also critical, are the partners who understand how to engage with our field, right? How to co-sell, how to come together in a sales model. And often that is not a natural DNA for either a startup or even for large companies. But the notion of understanding where you fit together, how do you engage with the customer, how do you engage with that process, and making sure that that is something that is part of your go-to-market motion is absolutely critical. And then the final thing I'll say is I think there's often this notion that if you build it, they will come. You put something on a marketplace, or you put something in a on your website, and you just expect things to happen. Well, at least if you're selling to a business buyer, that is not how things happen. So what we also look for is, are there the right investments and resources, not just in product, again, very critical, but also in sales, in marketing, in customer success. Does that full infrastructure and operations exist so that when the customer is actually engaging, there is a tight connection between what the partner is delivering and what the customer needs?
Great. No, and you're absolutely spot on, Avanish. I've lived through it where if you build it, they will come. It does not work. So you do have to take a lot of extra effort internally and externally to motivate your teams to drive revenue and awareness and demand through the marketplaces or through your presence with the cloud provider. So Uday, at Snowflake, you guys were one of the early adopters of co-sell and being on a marketplace. How did you motivate your sales team? How did you, get everybody on the same page internally? And what were some of the challenges that you faced either internally or externally?
Yeah, so for us, really, it was so there's a couple questions there, right? The first one is getting on the marketplace, and that tends to be a big advantage if you're selling to mid to large enterprises, because one of the things they want to do is, if they have a committed spend, they want to be able to draw down against that spend. And the advantage of being on the marketplace is, they can procure easily, faster, and they can also draw down on spend. So that's a clear advantage for any customer. And you take that and align that with our internal sales. If you look at Snowflake, it's really, pay as you go, and it's billed as almost as a utility, right? Which is you pay for what you use. And aligning our sales team with that kind of mentality, which is like, hey, if you sell to a cloud marketplace, then there's some sort of committed spend and therefore consumption. And if I tie your comp and commission to consumption, they can see the direct correlation to say, okay, so if I sell through here, then there's going to be consumption, therefore I get paid. And then of course working internally with finance on things like making sure that it is comp neutral, so that there's no competition between our sales team trying to figure out, should we take it through this channel versus selling direct. And I think that's not easy, right? I've been in two startups where that's actually critical. If you set it up that way, is then you eliminate a lot of friction.
Okay, great. And Stephen, as the CEO of Ahana, and previously, you made the sweeping change and had your sales teams, marketing, everybody all in on cloud marketplace. How did you set that direction? Why did you set that direction? And how did you get the teams rallied around that?
Yeah, so we spent a few years together at AVHX, which was cloud native networking software. But even though we were cloud first at that time, we initially started off with more of a top-down enterprise selling model, proprietary software, but happened to be installed in the cloud. We found that the velocity of that and the expense of creating that type of go-to-market motion was pretty high, and it was slower than we wanted it to be. And coming from my previous roots, which I was at Couchbase, open source models were really the opposite, more the developer-led bottoms up instead of the enterprise top down. And then when we started working together, we went cloud first. We had to align, as Uday was talking about, in terms of making sure sales was aligned and finance was aligned with that. And switching from what was used to be TCV and ACV deals, or like multi-year deals paid up front or whatnot, into pay-as-you-go, pay by the hour. And that took a big shift. Some people could make that shift, other people couldn't make that shift. But what we found is that being focused on having one singular approach and having, as you mentioned, the comp neutral approaches, that really mattered. Then once we plugged into the rest of the machine of the cloud provider, which the sellers on the cloud provider side get comped because it's on the ELA, and you also have marketing that's starting to co-market architectures, reference architectures, and other types of answers. It really changed it a lot for us. And so Marketplace, again, is a fulfillment vehicle, but if you put these other pieces in place, suddenly it can turn into a high velocity business. And we think that it's the best way forward.
Yeah, and just the comp neutral is so important because salespeople, coin operated, they need to have the incentive to be able to move the business forward and either take it direct, take it through a cloud provider, take it through a channel. So I think that's a really important aspect.
Yeah. That channel thing, I mean, we kind of view I would love to hear it from the other panelists, how much the channel is now just the cloud provider is the channel, or and they're trying to recreate the downstream as well. But I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, let's bend that for just a second, because I think that is something definitely I want to touch on. But I wanted to shift over to Preeti, because Freshworks is I just find it fascinating. You're not on the cloud marketplace, but you guys have had great successes in providing customer value, which is one of the things Avanish mentioned. So can you talk a little bit more about how you are providing customer value with the cloud providers?
Absolutely. So just a little bit about Freshworks for those who might not know, right? We deliver products for customer and employee experience. And the company incidentally was started in Chennai. And now we have our headquarters over here in the US. And we realized very early on that we have to have a platform strategy in order to massively scale and serve our customers. So when you're looking at being a product, you're considering your customers alone, and at the same time, you're not leveraging the ecosystem to come together to add more value to the customer. So in fact, Sandhya, we created our own marketplace early last year. And we have over 1,200 apps already in less than 1.5 years, right? That's phenomenal. It creates a win-win-win situation. The first win is for the customer because they get a broad range of applications that they can build and use. And number two, the developers and partners who are building on it, they get to make the money and revenue from the marketplace. And third is we are increasing the stickiness on our side. For our customers, we have big customers that build over 20 apps on our ecosystem. So thinking from the customer first angle and at the same time leveraging the ecosystem to go forward through a platform strategy has really helped us propel our scale.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how much Freshworks has grown and what value you guys are providing to customers. So let's go back to Avanish. Stephen, you opened up a Pandora's box when you talk about channel, and some people are saying that the cloud providers are distributors, and that they're taking over some of the traditional channel business that a VAR, MSP, SI, and even GSI are doing. Avanish, from the perspective of Google Cloud, how are you guys working with the channel? I think there's a little bit of nervousness among these traditional channel providers, but at the same time, they do have trusted advisor status with end customers. Avanish, how at Google Cloud are you working with channel partners and motivating them to work with you as well as customers and third-party vendors?
Yeah, so for us, the MSP and channel partners are a critical part of our ecosystem. And in fact, we see a lot of growth there. And truly, it is because of what you just said, Sandhya. They are trusted advisors. They bring a substantial set of skills, experiences, and obviously relationships, and frankly, knowledge of the customer. So our approach is to actually continue to work very closely with a variety of channel partners, and they will have different industry backgrounds. They may have different geographical focus areas. They may have different skill sets and product areas that they're focused on. So we see the whole value chain of channel partners, from the global SIs to regional VARs to MSPs, as a very critical part of how we deliver value. Right, our focus continues to be building great product and building a great platform. The ecosystem with ISV partners, SIs, GSIs, VARs, etc., is really to augment that, and ultimately, again, sticking to the point of value, right? Is how do we make sure we're delivering the right amount of value? We're not in the business of competing with those partners. We really expect more and more of our business, in fact, to be with a variety of partners, not a single partner. But, and to the point that Preeti just made, as we engage with customers, as we sell large consumption deals, our partners are helping those customers adopt more applications, more infrastructure technologies from things like our marketplace. And that really helps the customer achieve value, and continues to keep our ecosystem pretty robust and pretty happy, actually.
Great. Uday, Stephen, or Preeti, I'm sure you guys have your own experiences and thoughts on that. I think well said, Avanish.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to add on to that, and probably along the lines of what Stephen was asking, right? Which is, do you see the cloud marketplaces become more fulfillment, or are they actually taking over where they can, start with demand gen and take over the sales process? So in our perspective, I'll tell you, here's how we see it, right? The cloud, the cloud platforms, the cloud themselves have, 150, 160, 200 products that they go sell. And then add on top of that, probably a couple thousand or a few thousand ISVs. So in terms of, will it become a demand gen and sell your product by itself? The answer is no, right? You still have to get out there, educate the customer on your product. Why do they want to adopt your product? And then when they want to actually buy it, they can say, oh, are you part of GCP, or are you part of Azure? Are you part of AWS? You can draw down against it. So I think the cloud marketplaces make it easy for procurement, all of the billing, making sure that you have monthly consumption, all of the reporting. Clearly, it makes it makes all of that super easy. But I don't think they will drive scale demand gen and the sales process. Stephen, I don't know if you're seeing it otherwise, but that's how we're seeing it here.
Yeah, I think that for sure that the company that's the ISV has to provide the marketing support around this, and then technical support to go through even sales cycles. Whether that can be done by a cloud provider or even a downstream VAR is a question. And I think that most people are saying we go direct and we just use the cloud providers, and we'll pay some of the tax associated with that.
Now, Freshworks was Partner of the Year in India. So tell us how you accomplished that, because that can give some insight into how to work with partners.
Absolutely, Sandhya. We were the APAC Partner of the Year this year. And one of the key points, I think all the panelists touched upon it, which is how do we drive value and also not just see the cloud provider as a channel, right? You know, like what Uday was mentioning, there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of startups that try to get partnership with the big cloud product providers across the board. What we did was we started thinking not just how do we benefit from the partnership, but how does AWS benefit by working with us, right? How do we help them become more impactful in multiple geographies? And starting with India, we were able to make a huge impact for AWS itself in that market, and now we're doing that globally, right? And so what we do is, like, you know, we leverage some of the services that AWS provides, like Lambda for serverless architecture. And then our customers in the last 6 months, we grew from over 200 million Lambda invocation to over 700 million in the last 5 months, just during COVID time, because everybody is trying to go towards a serverless architecture where they have more cost efficiencies and customers are getting more value from that. And these sort of technology innovations jointly done with the cloud provider is what will help any company or any startup move forward. It's not just considering them as a way to just go to market. It's way beyond that. It is, not just as a channel, but as technology integration.
Yeah, and you're right, technology integration, the more you are sticky with a cloud native service or product, the more demand your company drives, the more revenue it generates for everybody. And so, working with the cloud service providers, it's also great if you have stickiness with some of their native products and services. I always encourage entrepreneurs to go with that stickiness. So we're running out of time. I wanted to just end with a 30-second round robin. And I had 2 questions that I wanted each of you to briefly address. One is, when should an entrepreneur, an early stage startup, start thinking about engaging with the cloud provider? And then number 2, what do you see in the future of cloud? Like Sandy talked a lot about it, but what do you see the next 5 years? So Avanish, let's go with you, Uday, Stephen, and then Preeti, we can round off with you.
Perfect. So look, I think for an entrepreneur, the cloud is now the delivery mechanism. So the sooner they can think about that, the sooner they can think about an architecture that's built around cloud frameworks like Kubernetes, and then define where they want to deploy it, I think the better, right? So today, if I'm starting something, it's by definition, it's going to be cloud, right? For the future of the cloud, look, it was already at a rapid pace. I think 20% of workloads have already moved to the cloud. COVID, whether we like it or not, is an accelerant of that. So what we are seeing in our customer conversations, in our partner conversations, is the rate of adoption across all clouds, and particularly in multi-cloud strategies, has accelerated a lot. So the future of the cloud to me is every business process is going to be cloud enabled, and things like what we're doing right now are going to become the norm. Collaboration, engagement, working remotely, and the cloud is what enables that. So we're all very bullish on what the cloud means.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, Stephen. Let me.
Go for it, Dave. Yeah.
I mean, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to put myself in an entrepreneur's shoes, assuming that you're just about building the product. The first thing that you're going to do is build your product on a cloud, right? So step one, all 3 of the big major clouds, they have a lot of programs. So first, step one is educate yourself in all of these programs, because they actually have programs for startups that you can actually take advantage of. So I would start there. And if you're further down in the life cycle where you have, tens of customers and you're starting to, get into kind of, Series B growth phase, then that's the time to think about putting together a partnership with the cloud. And again, I think it starts with the education of all the programs, how you plug in there, and take advantage of a lot of the benefits that they actually afford startups. Stephen, over to you.
Yeah, in terms of, I've been at the early stage, and yeah, getting the credits and those things from the cloud providers, as Uday said, was a great starting point to build. Then the go-to-market, is about finding that product market fit, and doing so with the help with, like, say, for example, the solution architects, and they will help with that if it happens to be a B2B infrastructure type of ISV product. And so I think then the cloud partners have many programs, and some are good, some aren't good. You kind of have to try them all out and see what matters to your customers and find out where your customers are within that. And then whatever is working, that traction pull will then be the place where you double down. So that's how I'd suggest to answer that. And just future, I think the multi-cloud, as Avanish was saying, is going to be more and more predominant. It's already happening pretty widely, and the types of solutions that need to be out there to address that are still coming up. And so I think that's where the future is abstracting that a lot. Over to you, Preeti.
Thanks, Stephen. I think all the panelists covered most of the topics here. I'll take this opportunity to touch upon a couple of things that came up in the questions that was interesting on the future of cloud. There's a question on 5G adoption and a question on edge computing, right? I'll start with the edge computing. You see cloud providers and as well as the vendors who work with across the board in hybrid cloud, multi-cloud are also extending to the edge computing, right? Be it the Ciscos of the world or Nutanix and other providers. From my past life, the edge computing comes as part of the whole journey. And cloud providers are looking at embracing edge computing as part of their story because customers need both the cloud computing and edge computing. So why not leverage that trend to expand into that, right? So as a startup, you might want to consider how you can innovate in that edge computing area in addition to the cloud. And with 5G, it's only going to explode further, right? So cloud has certainly been here for the last 20 years. It's going to be there for the next 20 years. So let's enjoy this ride. And last point is, how can a startup or a company deliver microservices, right? Because now the end customers may not be looking to buy huge products or monolithic solutions, but how do you help them where they are and provide those services that they need just for their problem, right? So those are some 3 things to consider across the edge, 5G, and microservices I'd like to leave the audience with.
Great, thank you so much. Panelists, we are out of time. We have the closing keynote from Rich Rao coming up, but I wanted to thank all of you for participating. I wish we had another hour to continue the discussion, but thanks again, and we will hopefully hear more from you guys very soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Sandhya.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.